So, if you look at the stock market today after hours, you probably have one question. What happened to Alibaba stock? Well, hey guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day today and let's just jump into it. So, Alibaba. Some news came out today that the Chinese company Alibaba, ticker symbol BABA, has had an antitrust probe launched against them, and that has sent the stock crashing down. It's down something like 8% today after hours, and coincidentally, this happened at the very end of the trading day. So we don't really know if it's going to continue going down tomorrow, or maybe this is the bottom, but it has broken the previous support at about $252.45. It just crashed right through it. So now we don't really know how far it's going to go down before it finally starts recovering. So let's try to understand what really happened and then see what we should do about this situation. So first of all, I guess we should start off with the beginning. So about a month ago, the CEO and the founder of Alibaba, which is also the wealthiest man in China, had some criticism for the way the Chinese banks work and give out loans. Jack Ma, like I said, the CEO and the founder of Alibaba, which is also coincidentally one of the biggest, if not the biggest, e-commerce company in the world, and it's probably one of the biggest companies in China. He criticized the way the Chinese banks were giving out loans and how they were leveraging risk. And in response to that, the Chinese government, or should I say the Chinese Communist Party, decided to flex their muscle and show everybody, including the richest man in China, who's the boss. So first, the Chinese government blocked the IPO of one of the biggest, if not the biggest, IPOs ever to be released, and that would be Ants Group, which was said to be valued and to have raised 34 billion in capital. And the Chinese government blocked the IPO of that. On top of that, now in a continuous effort to punish Jack Ma and to show other people that they do not handle criticism well, they decided to start an antitrust probe, and there's also a possibility that they would be broken down into smaller companies. Now, something to keep in mind is that China for a while has had this duopoly, if you will, and there are these two major companies that have been basically the key factors in China's really impressive growth lately. One of them would be Alibaba, and the second one would be Tencent. Now, these two companies together, they probably the two biggest companies in China right now. And what happened with them basically putting down Jack Ma like that, in a way shows that no company is bigger than the Communist Party. And no matter who you are, no matter how much money you have, or how big your company is, it's still property and under control of the Chinese Communist Party. So what does this mean for us? Investors, maybe short-term or long-term investors on Alibaba. Now, we should start off with Alibaba as a company, and I think most people would agree that Alibaba overall has a lot of positive attributes to it. It has a lot of room for growth. They have a lot of diversity in many branches of development, both in China and other countries that have a lot of potential to maybe double in the next 5 to 10 years. So it's really, I don't think anybody is doubting that Alibaba is a good company. The question is, can a good company survive being on the bad side of the Chinese Communist Party? And another question is, I guess after this, if anything, that should make retail investors really question if they want to invest in Chinese stock in general. Now, when you buy a Chinese stock, you are not only dependent on that company, but you are also at the mercy of the Chinese Communist Party. That means that anytime they could bring up some allegations against you that would really harm the company. And if they could do this to Alibaba, which just a couple of days ago was worth over 700 billion, so it's in no way a small company, it's a giant. If they could do this to Alibaba, imagine what they could do to smaller companies like Neo, for example, or some other growth stocks that a lot of Americans and maybe European investors have been investing in. If they could do this to Alibaba, there's no way Neo or maybe Lee or some other companies could survive the wrath or even slightly criticizing the Chinese Communist Party. And that should be the main question, I believe, when you are investing in the Chinese stocks. Because, like I said, if you're not able to criticize anything going on in the country, you are really left without a voice. And here in United States, we're really used to being able to express our frustration or anything else. But if you invest in a Chinese stock, you also in a way give up your rights to complain, because the company is under control of the Chinese government. So you're not only letting the company have your money, you're letting the Chinese government have your money. And they could in turn hold it hostage against you. Especially if you invested a lot in, let's say, Alibaba right now, you have your fingers crossed that maybe the Chinese government would show some mercy so that you could at least go back to break even on your shares, or God forbid you have calls on Alibaba right now. I mean, you could say goodbye to that. 8% is quite a lot for a giant company like that. In basically an hour, that's how much it fell. So again, that's something to consider when you're investing in Chinese stock or any other foreign stock in general. But I think Chinese stocks are the main issue would be that you are at the mercy of the Chinese government. And this was demonstrated by what they did to Alibaba. And I'm sure if any other company stepped out of line, they would have it just as bad or maybe even worse. So, like I said, Alibaba is a wonderful and growing company that has everything it needs to continue growing. Everything except the favor of the Chinese Communist Party. So we'll have to see if Jack Ma could somehow mend the relationship between him and the Chinese government. And if you're aware of who Jack Ma is, you might have some mixed feelings about him. A lot of people have seen him in an interview with Elon Musk that did not paint him in the best lights, I guess. It did seem a little off. So I don't know if you want this guy to be negotiating his surrender to the Chinese government. So let's talk about Tencent. Like I said, in China there's somewhat of a duopoly. It would be Alibaba and Tencent. and this could benefit Tencent in the short term, but I believe this would make foreign investors question if investing in an economic atmosphere that prohibits any and all sort of criticism is worth the risk that comes with them. Basically, a very massive growth potential, but nonetheless, there's a huge risk that at any time the government could just target you, take everything away from you, and then you would end up holding a bag for a company that no longer exists. Like, look at Luckin Coffee or anything like that. Alright, now if we look at the chart of Alibaba, we could see that this right here was when, let me draw a line over here. This right here was when Jack Ma was heard or criticized the Chinese banking system. And we could see that in a short period of time, it went from $320 all the way down in about a couple of days, all the way down to $360, then continued to drop until $352. So that is a giant, that is a huge drop. And all of that happened not because the company underperformed or because they made some horrible investing decisions or anything like that. Their earnings were great. They showed a lot of growth potential, but the only issue was that Jack Ma had the audacity to criticize the Chinese government and the Chinese banking system. And we could see that the bleeding didn't stop there. So this is the graph of today. And it's a little messy, but you could see right here something happened. This is when the news came out that there has been an antitrust probing for Alibaba. And in a matter of minutes, it went from $255 a share all the way down. It went all the way down to $245 a share. Now that is a massive drop. Massive drop for a company that is worth, at one point it was worth way over 700 billion. Right now it's quite a bit less, especially after a drop like this. So is this considered a good buying opportunity? Well, yes, but again, you're putting yourself at risk that the Chinese government can once again attack this company, attack this person, and cause the shares to go even lower. So you gotta ask yourself, are you really willing to put that kind of risk on your investment? And there's a lot of room for growth, there's no doubt. I mean, China has many people, they're evolving, their economy is growing, and I believe Alibaba would benefit greatly from all this. But first, they would have to win the favor of the Chinese government. And I don't know what they would have to do, or even if they would be able to do that. Hopefully they will, because it's a great company. There's a lot of growth potential, and I hope that the Chinese government isn't willing to burn this much just to make a point. Because, I mean, think of how many people are employed by Alibaba. Think of all the services they provide. They're basically the Chinese Amazon. So they're very, very important to the economy and to the growth of the country. So I doubt that the Chinese government would go so far out that they would want to destroy them completely. But I wonder just how much they would want to cripple them to make sure that they send a strong enough message to anybody else that would even think about criticizing the Chinese Communist Party. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, any suggestions, criticisms. I promise I won't probe you, no pun intended. And please leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you maybe tomorrow, maybe not. You never know. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye bye.